Welcome, everyone, to TJ and the Grumpy Old Man, a twice-a-week sports podcast where myself and the Grumpy Old Man talk sports and shoot the shit. I'm your host, TJ, and with me here, as always, is the Grumpy Old Man. They say there's no shame in his game because he is always the same.
That's me.
Grumpy, man, some big sports news here happened today and upcoming on Sunday with the Super Bowl. We're going live here February 10th. And the headline of the day is James Harden traded from the Brooklyn Nets to the Philadelphia 76ers. And going back, they trade away James Harden and Paul Millsap and to the 76ers, and the 76ers trade away Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, Andre Drummond, and 2 first-round picks.
Yes.
Wow. You want to talk about a little bit? I mean, you're right. James Harden was rumored to be on the way out, but you want to talk? That's a huge move.
He tried to shoot his way out of town the last 2 trade deadlines, and he succeeded today. James Harden, that being. Ben Simmons has been unhappy in Philadelphia, hasn't been playing for them at all. So, I think that's a trade that could actually help both teams, right? Think about how unhappy James Harden was, which means, they got the Kyrie situation. He can't play in New York because of vaccination status. James Harden's unhappy. Kevin Durant. It's like a real soap opera drama there in Brooklyn, to be honest with you. And then for, Philadelphia, now you got 2 guys who can really score, right? You got Harden and Embiid. So, I think that's a trade that could help both teams, honestly. I think it helps the 76ers more since Simmons wasn't even playing. So you got, in essence, James Harden for nothing.
Well, I think it helps the 76ers more in the current present day, right? I think short term, it definitely does help the 76ers out. Yeah, you just mentioned Ben Simmons was not playing again. They had a huge falling out this offseason, and that's prevented him from playing at all this year. And they get rid of a guy who wasn't doing anything for them, and now they bring in James Harden, right? In the short term, that's a plus. James Harden, though, he's no spring chicken, Grumpy Old Man. He's no spring chicken, Grump.
No, he's not. But, he still has ability to shoot the ball. He's one of those volume scorers, though, right?
He's a volume scorer, but I mean, he's 32 years old, and your movement doesn't get better the older you get. Basketball's not an old man sport.
Right, but what I'm saying is the East is there for the taking this year. I don't think there's any great teams. I believe the 76ers are at the top of the heap right now, but it helps them. They have Embiid now and Harden, 2 proven scorers. I think it was a good new move for the 76ers, even if it's short term.
James Harden has been, it seems the toughest thing is to keep him interested and to keep him engaged. That seems, think about it, right? When he was with the Rockets, that was an issue. When he was with the Nets, that was an issue. Is it going to be the same thing with him in the 76ers?
When he was with Oklahoma City, that was an issue.
I'm just saying, it just seems to be one of those recurring trends that he just kind of gets disinterested. He doesn't like what's going on. He's like, I want to leave. He just seems to do that with team after team. So, in the short term, yeah, sure, maybe it works out well. He's only got, after this year, he's only got 1 more year left on that contract till he's an unrestricted free agent. But I don't know. It makes you think to yourself, Grumpy Old Man, like, what is the answer there for him long term?
In Philadelphia?
Well, right? Ben Simmons wasn't going to be there. He wasn't going to play. But, you think to yourself, right, the team has struggled mightily, that Philadelphia 76ers team, for years. And in the last few years, they've had that renaissance, and Embiid's played really well. I don't know. Is this just giving up? Is this just giving up a little bit there of the future for the current now being, the next year or 2 years?
Well, that's what they're trying to do. Ben Simmons was not going to play for them again.
I know.
That bridge is burned. So in essence, like I said, they got Harden for free, as far as I'm concerned. All right, it's only 2 years. You got Embiid, right? He's one of the top 5 players in the league, any way you slice it.
He's MVP candidate. He's MVP favorite right now.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. So he's certainly one of the top. You got Giannis, you got Kawhi, guys like that. But he's fantastic, right? I never thought he was going to be that good coming out of college, to be honest with you. So, and like I said, the East is not particular. There's no dominant team. I believe the 76ers, I'll have to check, have the best record in the East, but it's like everything's up for grabs. There's no super team in the East this year. And they're going to roll a dice and say, hey, we got Harden, we got Embiid.
The 76ers are fifth. I mean, they do have games in hand. They do have games in hand, which is important to take a note of.
How many games out of first are they?
They're like, I'm talking about they're 3 games out of first, and they've got 3 games in hand. I mean, it's really close. The East is close, right? You got the Heat, you got the Bucks, the Bulls, the Cavs, the 76ers, the Raptors. They're all in contention. They're close for first.
Right, but I just think this makes Philadelphia way better. You're adding a proven guy who can put in points, who can score points, and he's not poor defensively.
What?
Yeah, sometimes
James Harden he's atrocious on the defensive side of the ball. What?
When motivated, you didn't let me finish. When motivated, he's not poor defensively. That's what I said. When motivated.
Even when motivated, he doesn't play defense. This guy is he's an habitual offender of never playing defense.
I think when properly motivated, he can play more than serviceable defense. When motivated.
Oh my God, dude. I don't know.
Okay.
I've watched enough of him just not do anything on the defensive side of the ball. And when he's not motivated, right, offensive side of the ball, it's hard. It's hard to get him engaged too sometimes. I mean, he's a guy, you're right. He's a volume guy who likes to shoot. Any ball that comes his way, he's shooting. I mean, it's just what he is, right? He's a shooter. Simple as it is.
I think it's a good move actually for both teams, because the Nets, boy, talk about a team that everyone said, oh, Nets are going to be a super team. Okay, Kyrie is Kyrie. Durant's on the downside. Harden is Harden. There's not enough basketball to roll on the court.
Hold on. Did you just say Durant's on the downside?
I think Kevin Durant's nowhere near the player he used to be.
I don't know, man. I mean, you look at it. They only played 16 games all season with all 3 of those superstars on the court.
Well, Kyrie's not allowed to play in New York.
Yeah.
For that, whatever idiotic reason that is, he's not allowed to play in New York. So, and he just came back recently. But, Kyrie is Kyrie. He's kind of, the world is flat. He's got issues himself.
Oh, I don't care what he thinks about whether the earth being flat around doesn't affect him. He's a hell of a basketball player.
Yeah. But like I said, if you can't depend on him, to play every night because, whatever, the state won't let him play because he's not vaccinated, which is it's horseshit. I'm sorry. I just think it's hard to depend on a guy like that. So home field advantage or home court advantage doesn't mean anything if one of your better players is going to be there, right?
Yeah, and again, Durant's been out. And again, you said he's been like, oh, he's not that great. I mean, he's
no. What I said was
he's past his prime. I don't know. He's still performing at a hell of a level.
I just said he's nowhere near as good as he used to be. He was like the top player in the league. He's not that anymore.
Oh my God. I mean, he's still averaging 29.3 points a game.
Okay.
I don't know what you want from him, Grump. 5.8 assists a game. I mean, those are still really good numbers. I don't know, Grump. And again, 7.4 rebounds a game. The guy's doing really well.
Yeah. What did his numbers used to look like?
Well, what are you talking about? Like when he was with Oklahoma City Thunder or the Oklahoma? Yeah. What time?
Yeah, like 5 years ago, his numbers were better.
No,
he was certainly more active.
He was not. Golden State Warriors 5 years ago. He wasn't asked to do as much. 25.1 points a game, 4.8 rebound or 4.8 assists, 8.3 rebounds. So less points, less assists, slightly more rebounds. I mean, he wasn't asked to do as much with the Warriors as he was here, as he's being asked to do with Brooklyn at the moment.
Okay, but all right. What did he do his last year in Oklahoma City? I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's like he's not the same player. He's in his 30s now.
28.2 points, so he had less points, less assists, and slightly more rebounds a game. The guy's averaging 29.3 points a game. I wouldn't say he's passed or over the hill. The guy's still an outstanding athlete.
I didn't say that. I just said he's not the same player he was in his prime. That's all I said.
You know what? I'll sign up if a guy's not the same as he was in his prime and he's almost averaging 30 points a game. I'll sign up for that any day of the week.
I just think we can both agree that the teaming of these 3 didn't work out.
Well, because they couldn't. What do you mean they didn't work out? When they played together, they were fantastic. In 16 games they played together, 13-3. but they
Okay.
just could not get on the court at the same time due to injuries. I mean, Harden was injured and banged up. You had Durant, who's been injured and banged up, and Kyrie with the vaccination issue, who hasn't played many games this year.
Okay. So we can say for whatever reason it didn't work out. They only played 16 games together out of 60, right? I'm just saying for
It's like
whatever
saying if a
reason.
guy gets hurt and never plays again, drafted first overall, never plays again, he snaps his ankle in half, could never play basketball again. Oh, he's a bust. I mean, I don't know. He got injured.
I didn't say he was a bust. You're
You're saying the trade. I'm using apples to apples comparison. You're saying that this three didn't work out well together. When they were on the court, they played really well. The issue was health, vaccination status, etc.
But Harden's
When
been trying to
healthy,
get himself
yes.
traded off the team for the last 2 years.
No, Harden has not been with them for 2 years, Grumpy. This is the first year he's been with the Nets.
Okay. All right. I'm sorry. He shot his way out of town the last team he was on last year.
Yeah.
And he didn't want to do it this year, but everyone knew he wanted to be gone. So it didn't work out. He didn't want to stay. He wanted to leave.
He didn't want to stay because he was upset. I think that Kyrie wasn't playing enough because of the vaccination. I don't know. Right. He wanted last year, right? He played half the year. He played a certain portion with the Nets. So this is his first full season with the Nets, and he left and he wanted to shoot town is right. But it used to be the Houston Rockets. He was with the Houston Rockets for a while, but he definitely wanted to shoot his way out of town with the Rockets back during that time.
Yeah, and the same thing here. He even said, I don't want to shoot my way out of town, but okay. He didn't want to be there. So it didn't work for whatever reasons. I'm just saying it didn't work. When one guy wants to leave, 45, 50 games into the season, it didn't work. Ooh,
well, it is good
Kevin
to see that
Nash.
this is what James Harden's hamstring is going to look like now that he's been traded and moved.
Very good. Cute.
Who doesn't love that gif? He's magically going to be ready to play again.
Yeah.
Oh, good gracious. Drew L saying, by the way, if you're new to the show, first off, we invite you. Stick around a while. Thank you for coming and joining and viewing our podcast. Again, the best way to show support for the podcast is by subscribing on YouTube, liking on Facebook, and following on Twitter. And again, if you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter, make sure you hit the like button. Apparently, it helps the algorithm. We go live every Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and every Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So to make sure you don't miss out on any of the action, subscribe on YouTube, like on Facebook, follow on Twitter. Drew L says, I'm pissed. What is Leon Rose doing? How did he not ship out the veterans?
I guess he couldn't find a good trading partner that the Knicks thought would work. That's the only thing I could say. I mean, you saw the Celtics managed to do some of that today. I don't know what the Knicks are doing. Maybe they're happy with their current mix. Maybe Leon Rose doesn't know what he's doing. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know what the Knicks are doing. It was questionable.
Frank K says Harden was pissed at Kyrie because he had hoped to win a title with him and Kyrie and KD on the court. Harden's very erratic. I've seen it live quite a bit.
Yeah. Didn't work.
Drew L said here, and the Knicks hired Rosas, the same guy who fired Thibodeau in Minnesota. Which, in all honesty, I'm done with Thibodeau. I'm fine with that.
He's turned out to be an okay coach, though. Thibodeau. Is he, Red Auerbach? No. Is he Pat Riley or Phil Jackson? Well, no. You need players for those guys to be good. But it kind of is what it is. I mean, like I said, I don't know what the Knicks are doing. They're baffling to me, to be honest with you.
Frank Hay said, if the owners cared about the Devils like they do about the 76ers, they'd be very good. But they're egomaniacs who couldn't let Gallant, Gerard Gallant, have any say and hired an out of touch Ruff.
Yeah, well, I don't think the Devils are close to being talented enough. But let's say everybody wants to be, if you're an owner, what's the more popular sport in this country? It's basketball. Not to me, it's not, but to the majority of fans, it's basketball over hockey. Hockey of the Big Four is firmly entrenched at number 4. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what their budgetary restraints are. What they put into the product, hockey over basketball. So I can't comment on that. But I would say that the Sixers are certainly a better bet to go deeper in the playoffs, and the Devils probably won't even make it. So maybe that's why they're doing it.
What's up? What are films? How are you? Frank K saying Durant can't stay healthy. He's the boy Chuck of the Nets. He's brittle. And he's getting older. That's what I said. Maybe in the short term, it helps him out because you get. I mean, okay. Now I've got a guy who now he's actually going to be on the court instead of Ben Simmons, and maybe he's going to be motivated. Biggest thing is, can you speak his love language?
Okay, but see, that's why I was talking about Durant. If you're hurt, you're just not the same player you were. I mean, there's nothing wrong. He's 30? What? 35?
I mean, more Harden. I apologize.
Yeah.
Can you speak Harden's love language?
Yeah, I'm just saying for just looking at Durant, again, he's what? He's got to be like 35, right? 34. He's getting up there now. He's no spring chicken.
Well, I mean, okay.
Anytime you're seeing a little bald spot on top of your head,
he's 33 years old.
Okay, he just seems like he's older than that. Anytime you see that little bald spot coming in on top of your head, it means you're getting up there. Right, TJ?
Yeah, that's it. Warzone Senior Citizen says here, the Islanders exploded last night. I'd trade that bum Bailey ASAP.
They had a very good first period. Very good first period.
Yeah, 5 goals. And then Martin, I think, got one late in the game. But Frank K says Durant has the smoothness of Iceman George Gervin.
George Gervin. It's not Grevin. Oh, it's Gervin.
Cool.
I'm just gonna assume you have no idea who that is.
He was a hitman for the mob, was he not?
No, George Gervin was a player
for the Iceman I'm thinking of was a hitman for the mob.
Maybe that's why they put his name after it. That was George Gervin's nickname. He played for the San Antonio Spurs. He was a small forward in his prime, and he could really score the basketball. He was a really good player back in the 70s, 80s. Really good. Durant was more talented than him, though. He just was. George Gervin wasn't 6'11". I think he was like 6'7", something like that.
What a film say. I know we don't get political, but shout out to Canadian Chuckers. Frank K says Bruce Cassidy may not survive the next few weeks. Boston looks really bad. They have no goaltending.
I don't see him. I don't see his job under threat at all. Not at all.
Wow.
They have issues though. Marchand, Bergeron's out. They're getting just rolled tonight by Carolina. But you know what? A lot of teams get rolled by Carolina, us included. So,
we'll talk
about
tread
water. Can they get Krejci back? There's rumblings that Krejci's going to come back. Who knows?
David Krejci, yeah. Drew L saying essentially the Nets Twitter anthem until today. Drew L also said the Islanders exploded off on Vancouver, being about as prepared for the game as a frantic dad rushing his son to the game. Well, I mean, here's the thing. You look at the performance the Islanders had in the first, what was it, even like 10, the first period, the first 10 minutes.
First 5 minutes.
The first 5 minutes of the game. And they even scored after that, too. I mean, I think they're up 4-0 in the first 10 minutes of the game. That being said, people said, oh, it's because they threw everything in the blender, and that's the lineups, and Barry Trotz is a genius. No, that's what happens when you get run off the ice at home before the All-Star break. You have a 7-day time period of rest, and your coach is just drilling the living shit out of you because you lost to an expansion. We're shut out by an expansion team at home, and we're outshot 2-1. So that's the type of response you would like to see after your team got absolutely plowed over and you have a 7-day break. You expect them to come out like they're playing Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals.
Yeah, and I guess it shows you how little thought Barry Trotz has towards Kiefer Bellows when he's putting Ross Johnston on the second line and Cal Clutterbuck on the first line.
Yeah, and Oliver Washington. But we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that on Saturday, Grumpy.
Okay.
And Frank Hay said the question will be: will Simmons have the balls to take the final shot? That's his flaw. He ducks in a big moment. Well, here's the thing: he's not required to
on that team.
No, I was about to say he won't be required to be there in a big moment. Here's the thing: Ben Simmons is a guy who's never had a great jumper, and will he be in basketball shape? Right? I think long term this could perhaps be an okay move for the Nets. But what type of shape will he be in? Simple as that. I mean, Harden was obviously unhappy. Nobody speaks the love language. That's why he wants to jump ship. The last few years in a row. He jumped ship from Houston. Now he jumped ship here from Brooklyn. And who knows how long he'll stay happy in Philadelphia. But I don't know, what type of shape is Ben Simmons going to be in?
Well, as it comes to Harden, maybe he should learn English as opposed to creating the love language. Maybe he'd be able to get along with people better. Just me spitballing there. But for Ben Simmons, okay, he's in shape, but he's not in basketball shape. A young kid like that, what do you figure? Maybe 2 weeks and he'll be ready to go. I mean, hopefully he doesn't pull a muscle or something like that, but it'll take him a little while to get into basketball shape. But I mean, Harden didn't want to be there, faking injuries. Come on. It was time to move on.
That type of stuff's bad. And we'll bring up here now. There's something happened this evening regarding the All-Star selection, team selection, and Kevin Durant. Let's put it like this: he threw a little bit of shade there at James Harden. Drew L says here, at least KD's career didn't end due to an injury. I mean, yeah,
we don't know
that. Still got time left. Frank Hay said he looked done, or Halak looked done. He can't move anymore. He was number one star. The Islanders got their ass kicked in the second and third period. Sorokin saved us. Chara is finished. Yeah, I was about to say we were in trouble. I mean, it was 5-3. We gave up 2 or 3 unanswered goals, or 2 unanswered goals, and we were really on the ropes. Simple as that.
That's why you have a goalie like Sorokin, though, to save your bacon when it has to happen. That's why he's the number one goalie. And, how long before teams determine, okay, well, we're going to have to play our starter against the Islanders? Because we haven't played a team starter in quite a while, starting goaltender.
Well, that's not true.
It is true.
Oh, stop. You're going to make me pull this up and call you out, Grumpy?
Go ahead.
Oh, my God.
Go ahead. I know you should have been prepared for that anyway.
Well, I didn't know that you were going to throw that on out there, Grump, to be honest. Who's the Kraken starting netminder?
Grubauer.
Grubauer played against us. So, last game.
Okay. But we got a string of games. No, I don't think Grubauer did.
Grubauer played against us and shut us out.
Yeah. Okay. So a starter played and we got shut out. But then all those other games, they were the backups. It was noticeable that we were playing teams' backup goalies. That's all I'm saying. And last night was no different.
Alrighty. All I'm going to say is just when's the last time? That was the last time. Christopher C. said, will you guys go live during the Super Bowl? Probably not. We might do after the show. We'll probably enjoy, relax, kick back and relax. The Super Bowl, man, we're gonna enjoy that one. It's a lot of commercials too. And like that game would be live, what you think, like 4 hours plus, Grumpy?
Yep.
I'm about to say we'll probably go live after Super Bowl. What a film was that?
Maybe we take a poll. I don't know.
Yeah, take a poll or something. What do you mean by take a poll?
I don't know.
What the hell is
See how many people want to see it live.
What a film saying, I'm still surprised Barzal didn't make the All-Star team. Time off was probably more enjoyable for him.
Yeah, I don't think he deserved to make the All-Star team, though. No problem. Not a big deal. The All-Star team means much more in basketball than it does to hockey players.
Christopher C. said, you're right, Grumpy. Who wants to play against an opposing team starting goalie?
Yeah. But I mean, eventually you're going to go, if the Islanders start winning a bunch of games, hey, we're going to have to play a starter. Because it's not been the case.
What a film saying live Super Bowl. What, Grumpy?
Grubauer aside, of course.
Okay. What a film saying live Super Bowl sounds good to me. We're thinking about it here. Frank K says, looks like we're getting a universal DH. Not opposed to that, but we got baseball news too to talk about here regarding steroid testing, but we'll talk about that. I wanted to get to one more clip, Grump.
I just want to say one thing about the universal DH. It's kind of what made the National League a little bit more enjoyable, which is the finer points of the game. But of course, baseball is going totally analytics. They might as well just put a Stratomatic out there. Because, it's like, oh, we only do things based on analytics and this, that, and the other thing, the shift. But I kind of liked when a pitcher had to hit, made them more accountable when they were throwing pitches.
Well, I wanted to show you this clip here. Now, this was from tonight, probably about an hour ago. I'll let you listen to it. This is between LeBron James and Kevin Durant selecting their all-star teams.
I'm gonna need some size for sure. Yeah. I'm gonna need some size. And
right here, I know it's kind of small. The only two individuals that are left are Rudy Gobert and James Harden. And you listen to Kevin Durant try to go ahead with a complete straight face, rationalize why he's selecting Rudy Gobert over James Harden. I just want you to look at LeBron James during this.
Size and interior. Yeah. Especially with Giannis and LeBron James playing such great basketball this year. I need somebody to offset that. So I'll go with Rudy Gobert. I agree.
So James Harden, after the stunts he's been pulling there, last overall pick in the All-Star game.
So I guess it didn't work out there in Brooklyn, right?
Well, I tell you, Kevin Durant's obviously not happy. Here's the thing. As a player, right, you're not happy when another player's faking injuries not to play. Simple as that.
It didn't work out. It's all right. Didn't work out.
Didn't work out.
I mean, that's what I said before. You shot me down and
didn't work out. I shot you down. How'd I shoot you down, Grumpy?
Well, you don't know that. Yeah, I do. It didn't work out.
I'm saying when all of them are on the ice, they played well together.
Well, maybe they should have realized they were supposed to play on a court and not on the ice. Maybe they should have realized.
Well, they're all out there on the court. You know what I meant. Come on. You know what I meant. Drew L says here, Barzal is probably fuming not making the all-star team. You can thank Barry for that one.
No, he didn't play well. He hasn't played well. It's okay. It's not a big deal. All-star games don't mean anything.
Frank K says in 1998 we'll be returning juiced up players and baseballs.
How hypocritical of Major League Baseball.
Okay. Well, did you actually read what happened? Because the news and the reporting, they just went for the headline. It's not like they determined that we're never testing steroids again. It's just as of right now, the way the CBA had ended, also the testing had ended as well. The testing had stopped with the CBA agreement. And so right now, you've got this dead time period to where steroids are not going to be tested in the MLB.
You think the players are going to give that back to the owners, do you? You think so?
Why would they not?
Why would they? They're in a labor dispute. What are you going to give us in exchange for that? I'm telling you, they're going to say tough shit. We're not doing it. They're still doing it. Look at the size of the players. Look at the absolute size of the players between now and 30 years ago. It's astonishing, the difference. I don't care if people think they're not using something. They absolutely are. It's just not something they test for yet.
If you go and let's say, again, this could be one of these things as soon as they agree to it, they start testing again. But it's as of right now, right? Until it's agreed upon, what's going to stop a player from, they call it microdosing steroids or microdosing those performance enhancing drugs to give themselves a competitive advantage over the offseason to build up more strength? Nothing. I mean, there's no chance of retribution at the moment. There's no chance of testing at the moment. So you can do whatever you want. Go wild. Have a good time.
Everything's negotiable now, right? What are you going to give me for steroid testing? I mean, how do you think Roger Clemens, Barry Bonds, Manny Ramirez, A-Rod, how do you think they all think at this point if there's no more testing in Major League Baseball?
Okay, it's going to get brought back. I'm just saying, right? It's not like they agreed on never to test again. I'm just saying there is still a strong possibility that's going to be back. You think the Players Association, they would be the first sport to say, yeah, we're not testing steroids. Every other major sport tests steroids. I'm not opposed for them not testing steroids. Don't get me wrong, right? I think it brings a lot more. You're going to see a lot more home runs. You're going to see, right? You're going to see the quality of the game, I think, pick up, and you're going to see more fans possibly interested. So that's nice.
Okay. What would you say about the NFL's policy towards steroid testing?
What do you mean?
What would you say about it? Do you think it's a deterrent? Do you think anyone even cares? Do you think these guys know how to cycle up and down without getting caught? I say they do.
I think they all do something to get a competitive advantage. But now if you're just saying, hey, the kit and caboodle's out, do what you want, I think it kind of opens up the door a bit. I don't care if players do or don't. I really don't. They already do anything they can for competitive advantage. I mean, think about it. They were using deer antler spray. Ray Lewis, after what he tore his triceps, I think it was, he was using deer antler spray to get a freaking competitive advantage. And then they're like, holy crap, he was able to recover at such a quick rate. Yeah, we're not going to allow you to do that anymore. It only took 1 year. But every player does whatever they can to get a competitive advantage.
Anytime a guy is tearing muscles off a bone, that's a really common steroid injury.
Yes.
Torn pecs.
Torn pecs,
torn triceps.
Biceps,
torn
triceps.
biceps. It's because your muscles grow too fast for the tendons to support that onto the bone. So many, and they're always big guys, right? Always.
And I mean, you look at a lot of those guys too. They've got short muscle heads too because they don't do full range of motion because it's all about looks too for a lot of them. But I mean, NFL players are a little different.
No, I don't think anyone cares. How many guys get popped in hockey for that now? Not too many. You don't see players get popped.
None. NHL is not really any.
The only guys who get popped in baseball are the Hispanics.
Well, I can think of one player who get popped in the NHL. I wouldn't say it's I can't say keep a running tab on that, Grump.
Yeah, because that's the whole thing. It's not because it's commonplace now. It's not that big a deal.
I don't know why.
Here's the thing. Let's say they use something like HGH. I don't even know if they have an accurate test for that. Instead of doing steroids, they just take something else. There's always a new drug, and then they have to catch up to try to test for it. It's laughable to think that players are not using something to enhance their performance. I don't care if they do or not. That's on them.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I've always been a big proponent. If you want to use it, use it. Everybody does something. Some people are better at avoiding responsibility for that than others. Just make it a fair playing field. If you want to use it, you can. If you want to go ahead and know that, the ramifications that using steroids are going to have on you long term, well, it's your choice. So I don't know. That's kind of how I look at it. Got some additional comments. Christopher C said, Grumpy, I'd like to hear your thought. With Marchand suspended indefinitely and Rask gone, is there a chance that we can jump Boston? I know it's the Islanders. I know it's an Islanders question. And this is teaching the Grumpy man, but I need to ask.
Marchand's only out for 6 games. First one's tonight, which will be a loss for them. Rask is gone, but he wasn't really performing well. He couldn't perform. I think he gave them an emotional boost when he first came back, but now it's going to be Ullmark and Swayman in net. Is there a chance we can catch Boston? Okay, we're still, I think, 5 points behind Boston. Even if we won every single game in hand, we'd still be 5 points behind. I don't think we can catch. It's just too many points. That we're 15 points behind them. I'm sorry, and then we have 4. They'll have 5 games in hand going. We'll have 5 games in hand going into tonight, after tonight. So, can we catch them? Theoretically, yes. Are we good enough to catch them? Probably no. And even if we do, is a 4-game sweep at the hands of Carolina what you want to have happen? I mean, maybe. I don't think so.
Well,
their schedule's also easier than ours down the stretch. Our schedule down the stretch is a bear. The last 2-3 weeks.
Here's the thing, too. I think Swayman's the better goalie over Linus Ullmark. And I guess this is why they signed Ullmark to that deal this offseason. It was a 4-year deal. When they signed him, I was kind of left scratching my head thinking to myself, okay, why are they signing Linus Ullmark if Tuukka Rask will be back and Swayman's played so well? They must have known the likelihood of him being able to come back at 100% was probably never in the cards. So that's why they went ahead and made that move to sign Linus Ullmark. But you're talking about Brad Marchand. I want to show this clip. I know we talked about this briefly towards the tail end of our podcast yesterday, but Brad Marchand is suspended for 6 games for this stunt he pulled by punching and swinging at Tristan Jarry. And I mean, Jarry, you could tell he gets hit on the face, but he definitely takes a flop. There's no doubt in my mind. And just watch what happens and proceeds to happen. Nobody has jumped Brad Marchand after he punched the goalie, unprovokedly punched the goalie in the face, and he goes back and he tries to stick Jarry in the face. And look at these Penguins. Not doing a damn thing. Russ just kind of skating around. And you think to yourself, I'm like, if you go ahead and swing a stick at a goalie's face, you should be able to skate off the ice because you've been pummeled that hard. Oh,
I mean, it was at the end of a really tough game against Pittsburgh. Do you want to draw an unnecessary penalty that could maybe potentially cost you a game? I mean, who cares? The goalie wasn't hurt.
I don't know. You stick up for the goalie, no?
Yeah, like I said, they got the last laugh. They got the W, and Brad Marchand got suspended for 6 games.
They look weak.
Okay.
You look weak, and you look like you can be bullied and pushed around. When you're letting players, I mean, Brad Marchand's not a big guy. You're letting a guy who's, I use this as an endearing way as possible. He's like a rat. You let a rat go ahead and punch your goalie, unprovokedly punch your goalie in the face, and then swing his stick at his face, and you don't do anything?
Yeah,
What?
I'm not saying that they shouldn't have. I'm trying to explain why maybe they didn't. Here's the thing.
There's no scenario that makes sense as to why they didn't.
I have no respect for Marchand at all. He's a punk, right? Let's be honest. It's what he is. So, like I said, I'm surprised he only got 6 games. I thought he'd get way more than that.
It's because he's talented. It's as simple as that. He's a talented player. He's a very talented player. His antics in between the whistles are what gets him in trouble, and his antics on the ice. I mean, think about licking players. I mean, he's got a laundry list of questionable decisions he's made in the past, and I think a punk would be a perfect definition to describe Brad Marchand.
He's really good at slew-footing players going into the boards.
He's a dirty player. There's no doubt in my mind. He's dirty.
He is.
And he's on Tom Wilson level dirtiness.
He's worse than Wilson. He's worse than Wilson.
What makes you say that?
Wilson doesn't try cheap, dirty shit, and slew footing is about as bad as it gets. You can end a guy's career with that.
He just boards people.
Well, Marchand does that too.
It's a little different when you got a guy.
Marchand's like the trifecta of punkedness.
But the thing is, he is the trifecta of punkedness, but he's so small when he's trying to hit somebody from behind. He's not, dude. Tom Wilson's a repeat offender for targeting the head and checking from behind. And when a 6'3", 6'4" body frame at 230 pounds is doing it, it's a lot different than when a little scrappy mouse or a little scrappy rat like Brad Marchand at like 5'10", 180 pounds soaking wet's doing. It's a little different.
Somebody should just put a stick right up Marchand's ass and fry him over a barbecue. Just roll him up, just burn him up.
How do you think he's a rat? How do you think?
However, rats taste.
He's 5'9", 181 pounds. Yeah, I was about to say. I mean, he's maybe 5'9", 5'10", 180 pounds, dripping wet. So when he's committing these infractions on the ice, it's not going to carry the same result or end result as Tom Wilson doing it. Tom Wilson's a bigger guy. When he lays a hit, it's going to be felt. And you talk about having a chance of ending players' careers. Tom Wilson has a bigger chance of doing that than Brad Marchand, but he really didn't make huge contact on the punch, and the stick to the face really didn't do much. I think it had more to do with the intent. That he looked unhinged out there on the ice. He said that it had to do with Tristan Jarry trying to toss a puck up to a Boston Bruins fan in between whistles. That's what set him off. I mean, that's unhinged.
He's a moron. I mean, and here's the thing: he's needed by Boston. He's the best player on the team. I think he's taken over that mantle from Bergeron. Bergeron goes out with a concussion earlier in the game, and you're just so selfish that you're going to get yourself a suspension like that for going after a goalie. I don't understand it. It just shows low moral character for that guy.
He does have there's no doubt in my mind. He does have low moral character. I don't think anybody can defend that. Now, with Tuukka Rask retiring, you forget, Rask at the end, he kind of struggled a bit, but man, oh man, the guy, when he was on the top of his game, was one of the best goalies in the NHL.
He was a really excellent regular season goalie. Sometimes he kind of shrunk in the playoffs, but in the regular season, he was outstanding. Certainly one of the top 5 goalies in the league during his time, without a doubt.
Now, why do you say he kind of shrunk in the big moment?
He never won a cup. They never even got to a cup final with him.
No, he won a cup, didn't he?
He was the backup when Boston beat Vancouver in 2011. Tim Thomas was the starter.
Okay, I do remember him being on a team. Well, okay, well, hold on. Was it 2011? Yeah, that's right. It was 2010, 2011 season. I mean, you look at some of the time. Okay, look at the year after the 2012, 2013 season. He had the most saves. He had a 9.4 save percentage in the postseason.
Yeah, but they didn't win. You're judged by winning and losing. When there's who the greatest of all time, or
they lost to that Blackhawks dynasty, and he still had a 9.4 save percentage, 9.40 save percentage. I'm saying Tuukka Rask was a hell of a goalie.
I didn't say he wasn't. All I'm saying is you can't say that, he's one of the greatest of all time because he never won a cup.
He did win a cup. He was on a cup-winning team.
Okay, he was a backup. He never even played. Tim Thomas played that whole playoff run. He didn't play.
Let me ask you this. Now, he did win a Vezina back in that 2013-14 season. Do you think he's got a chance of possibly squeaking his way into the Hall of Fame, or you think there's no chance for a guy like Tim Thomas? Didn't play long enough.
Tim Thomas?
Oh, I'm sorry, Tuukka Rask.
Maybe. But I mean, he didn't win anything.
That's true.
Or he won a Vezina one year, but he didn't win an Olympic medal. He didn't win a world championship. He didn't win a Stanley Cup. I think that's what's separate. And his thing, I think he was really, really good. His numbers were outstanding. Could he get into the Hall of Fame? Yes, he could. But you look at some goalies who've been left out, and what do they all have on their resume? No Stanley Cups. I think it means something, or it's easier to get into the Hall of Fame if you're a proven winner as well.
Get some more comments here. Barry's gonna ruin Barzal. I think he's got to go. Play Bellows, Barry, and Barry, and I will forgive you.
He's not going to play Bellows. He's not going to play him. Doesn't like him for whatever reason. You're playing Cal Clutterbuck on the first line and Ross Johnston on the second line as left wing.
Yikes.
And you're not playing Kiefer Bellows? Okay. What does it tell you?
Before we continue with more comments and additional topics, Grumpy, you're about halfway through today, and we do have an ad from DraftKings. The moment we've been waiting for since September is finally here in honor of the big game, which we're going to talk about later on this podcast. DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of Super Bowl 56, is giving new customers 56-1 odds on either team. Bet just $5 and get $280 in free bets if your team wins. DraftKings Sportsbook is now live in New York, meaning that you can bet from almost a third of the country. If Sportsbook isn't available in your state yet, play DraftKings daily fantasy football contests for Super Bowl 56. New customers can get a free shot at $1 million top prize with their first deposit. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use the promo code THPN and get 56-1 odds on either team. Bet just $5 and get $280 in free bets if your team wins. That's promo code THPN at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of Super Bowl 56. You must be 21 years or older, and a minimum age and location requirements vary by jurisdiction. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for a full list of requirements and state-specific responsible gambling resources. Void where prohibited. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. And Tennessee, call or text TN Red Line, which is 1-800-889-9789. And Connecticut, call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat. In New York, call 877-8-HOPENY or text HOPENY, which is 467-369.
Yeah. I mean, if you memorize all those numbers, more power to you. Hopefully if you have a gambling problem, you were listening to your state to see what the numbers were to call. Hopefully you don't.
Yep. Or 1-800-GAMBLER always works. Alexander's saying, my kids, I'm just tuning in. My kids were driving me crazy.
You know what? That's okay, Alexander. When they drive you crazy, know that you love them. I know you do.
Alexander also said, I'm against this. They need to test. We don't want any cheaters in the game.
If you let everybody do whatever they want, then there are no cheaters.
Well, here's the thing. I think that they're always, even when you have the regulation, people still cheat. And people still get popped for infractions. Think about Robinson Cano. I mean, you get popped like that. There are ways that a lot of people who do not test positive are still doing something to get competitive advantage. Is it as egregious as the people who get in trouble and the people who test positive? Probably not, but it's still something to give themselves a competitive advantage.
The only guys who get popped now are the Hispanic guys. They're the only ones because they don't have, the proper chemists to make sure they're clean when it's test time. That's the difference.
You think everybody's using and they've got some sort of like a toxic remover or like a toxic material remover from the body or something like that, Grumpy, like a detox?
With the exception of Chris Sale, can you name me a skinny baseball player? And I'm going to say, look at film from guys in the 80s and the 90s. Look at the bodies. They were all thin, reed thin. Outfielders were like bean poles, every single one of them. Now they're all built like power lifters. Please. There's not enough hours in the day during the baseball season to get that big. And then
maybe Shohei Ohtani is another skinny guy, I could say.
He's not skinny.
He's not big.
He's a big guy.
Oh, stop. He's not big. Shohei Ohtani's relatively skinny.
Oh, he's not. Look at the guys from the 80s and then tell me that Shohei Ohtani is skinny.
Do you think Shohei Ohtani's big? Is that big to you? Well, I'll get on the bigger picture so it's easier to see. But he's not, I don't know, Grumpy. I'm not considering him big.
Okay. So, bring up a picture of Gary Maddox. He was an outfielder for the Phillies back in the 80s. Or Enos Cabell. We know Shohei Ohtani. Yeah, he's a big guy.
My God.
Bring up a picture of Gary Maddox.
Yeah, Gary Maddox is skinny. Hold on. Gary Maddox looks about the same size as Shohei Ohtani.
Absolutely not.
I think the stripes. Look at his quads. I would say Gary Maddox's quads are bigger than Shohei Ohtani's quads. I want to try to add this to the same image.
Absolutely not.
Look at those quads, man. Look at those quads. Look at those quads, Grump. Those are bigger quads than Ohtani's.
You're wrong. He was a freaking beanpole. How much does Shohei Ohtani weigh? I'll bet you Gary Maddox was 180 tops. I mean, and you look at Ohtani, I know he's 2-something.
He's 6'4", 209 pounds. That's big. Grumpy, that is rail skinny. I'm 6'4", 255, 260 pounds. 209 pounds. I couldn't even dream myself that skinny.
Maybe it's because you're fat.
There also has something to do with it. I'm muscular and big and fat, but Ohtani is 6'4", 209 pounds is not big. I'm sorry. If you would say a guy like Mike Trout's always been a bigger guy. But if you said guys like Mike Trout's a very muscular individual. Ohtani's not muscular.
Every single baseball player is built like a freaking power lifter now.
Built like a power lifter.
Huh?
Clayton Kershaw's not built like a power lifter. I'm just saying.
Okay, you want to like onesies and twosies. I'm talking about position players. Guys who are hitting home runs. Which is just about everybody in the league.
Ohtani's hitting home runs.
Yeah.
Like Fernando Tatis he's a well put together guy. Would it shock me at all if they came out and said Fernando Tatis using performance enhancing drugs? No, it wouldn't.
Shortstops who are built like that, please. They're all on the juice. All of them are.
Like now, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. I don't know. He would kind of shock me. I mean, okay, now I'm looking at Fernando Tatis Jr. He's not that big. I don't know. He's not rail skinny, but he's still young. I mean, like maybe when I look at certain images, I say, yeah, I'm looking at your back. I'm looking at your lats. Yeah, maybe you look like maybe you could be doing something to get competitive advantage. But some pitchers, he looks really skinny. Some pitchers, he doesn't. So, I mean, like it's tough.
Okay. I'm just going to say, here's a homework sign. Look up some film on just absolutely. Look at his shoulders.
That picture right there. That picture right there makes me think yes. But other pictures I look at him, he looks really, really skinny. So it just all depends. Like Vladimir Guerrero Jr., I don't think he does it. He's just always been a bigger guy.
Oh.
But here's the thing. Nothing would shock me. If you came out and said really any player was using, I wouldn't be shocked. But look at the shoulders is right. He's got a very big, his lats are big, his shoulders are big, biceps big, and his forearms are big. It wouldn't shock me at all if this young shortstop was using something to get a competitive advantage. I think a lot more players do than don't.
Okay. When I'm just going to say, if you look at film of them actually playing the games back then, and you look at, I just happened to be looking at Philadelphia versus Houston in, I think, 1983 1982, whatever it was, in the National League Championship Series. And I was struck by how thin all the players were, all of them. Enos Cabell. I mean, everybody, just thin, reed thin. And you look at the guys today, they're all built, all of them. I mean, they're very, very muscular. You don't see any skinny baseball players go, gosh, man, he's skinny.
What a film saying pros using steroids is bad for kids. They have been using them at young ages, and to make the show, it's really bad. Here's the thing. I don't think anybody, I mean, when you're 20, even when you're 21 years old, you still have enough testosterone. You don't need to do anything like that to use additional like supplements to get yourself there. But you know, you see like I don't know if you ever see, Grumpy, because you're not much on social media, but you ever see like where it's like a 16 or 17 years old a kid who starts using some type of performance enhancing drug, and they're like, I don't care what it's going to do to me long term. I think to myself, I'm like, those are really, really sad situations.
Well, that's probably the fathers involved there as well.
Well,
they're saying that because I mean, you know, I mean, I'm saying that that's probably promoted by other members of the family. Let me just say it to you that way.
Yeah, I like for guys though that use steroids, I've got no issue. But here's the thing: it shouldn't be like, oh, I'm using steroids, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. I don't mind if they don't test; they just shouldn't. I don't know. If it's gonna be in a situation to where they're not knowledgeable and they're not testing, well, you have no idea anybody's using steroids as long as you're not being open about it.
Okay. I'm just, like I said, I just think everyone's using. It's been that way for a long, long time. And I don't have a problem with it. I mean, they're all the only ones that are really hurting of themselves.
Jeremy Ford saying here, Grumpy TJ, it's Thursday night. Nice to have a win last night. All right, a basket or baseball question. What are your thoughts on Pete Rose? If players can get in the Hall of Fame on steroids, should Pete Rose be in?
Yes. Pete Rose wasn't getting in as a manager. He was getting in as a player. I don't care what he did as a manager. I just find it hypocritical once again, where you're seeing all these sporting enterprises get involved with gambling, but they hold the players to a different standard where they're in bed with the gambling companies. They just are. NFL, MLB, NBA, NHL. They're all in bed with these, you know, DraftKings or whoever.
Yeah.
They're in bed with them.
One of these. Yeah.
They're getting paid millions and millions of dollars. And you're trying to tell me there's not a conflict of interest? How about building a team in Las Vegas like the Las Vegas Raiders? Any risk of any gambling organization getting in touch with a player there? I don't know. Maybe I'm just cynical or jaded, but I think the possibility is always there for somebody to throw a game if they get themselves in some type of financial situation that they can't get out of. I just, like I said, Pete Rose, how do you have a Hall of Fame where you have the greatest hitter of all time, most hits all time, most home runs all time, most Cy Youngs all time, and they're not in the Hall of Fame? Is it really a Hall of Fame?
Talking about what now is that Roger Clemens, talking about Barry Bonds, and talking about Pete Rose for those on here.
They're not in the Hall of Fame. You look at some of the players who are in there, who, you know, Cy Young, notorious racist. Ty Cobb, notorious racist. Ferguson Jenkins, trafficking cocaine. He's in the Hall of Fame. I mean, I just don't believe that it should be a morality thing. Who's the best players? That's all it should be. Who's the best players? Yeah, can you talk about the history of the game and not mention a certain player?
Yeah. I don't think you can do so without Pete Rose or Barry Bonds. That's for certain. Here's the thing. You can't do so without Mark McGwire or Sammy Sosa also. That's
they saved the sport. They saved the sport. And here's the thing. Don't tell me that Major League Baseball didn't know they were on something. They're lying. Particularly when McGwire was caught with Andro in his locker. They knew. But you know what? What's more important to Major League Baseball owners? It's the money. It's always the money.
Yep.
That's all they care about is the money.
They care about the image when it could negatively impact their money.
And then all of a sudden people start coming down on them. Then we throw those players on the bus where they saved the sport. McGuire and Sosa saved the sport in 1994. Saved it.
I agree. Trust me, I'm right there aboard with you, grumpy old man. Got additional comments here too. Alexander saying, by the way, hope you guys are doing great. We're doing well, and I hope you both had a great day. Same there with you, Alexander, and everybody listening.
Same, yeah, Alexander. I see him and his wife, lovely wife, there at a Dolphins game. I mean, she must have lost a bet having to go to that game. I don't know.
Oh man, the Dolphins. What a film saying. I'm proud that the Islanders would not do that. Marchand probably needs anger/douchebag management. Marchand just needs to get his ass wrong. He needs to get lit up once. He needs to get shown that you can't do that stuff by someone bigger and physical, and to give him a chance to where he doesn't have a chance to wuss out of it. Just pummel the living crap out of him.
In the 1980s, if Marchand tried any of that shit, he would already been out of the league, injury settlement. You're gone. You couldn't get away with that stuff. You get away with it now because of all the repercussions. If you go at somebody, that's not the way it used to be. The players police themselves. He never would have gotten away with that in the olden days. Never.
Yeah. And then what a film said, I agree, TJ, that Penguins should have jumped all over him. I agree. I don't get why they had no fight. I don't care if it was towards the end of the game. You don't let a player punch your goalie and throw a stick at him. You know what you do? You find somebody else. That's why you have to have a little bit of toughness on the team.
Just
Can't
remember,
be pushed around in the regular season.
Just remember, last 2 minutes, if you instigate a fight, you get suspended. They're in a playoff hunt right now.
Fight in the last 3 minutes. Find their best player who's on the ice that's not out injured. Just drop the gloves and beat the living shit out of them. Get suspended in the last 3 minutes of the game, the last 4 minutes of the game. You're up by 2 goals.
Yeah, but Marchand did that with like less than 2 minutes to go in the game. I mean, I'm not saying
on the clock. There was less than 2 minutes.
Yeah, it was like 1 minute and 26 seconds.
Well, you wouldn't be instigating. Marchand hitting your goalie is the instigation. You're just sticking up for your goalie. They're not going to give you an instigation penalty when you're sticking up for a guy punching your goalie.
I'm just saying there could be any number of reasons why they did not retaliate.
Because they don't want to fight. They don't have the fire that they need in order to be successful. That shit right there is the reason why they'll never win another cup.
Okay.
With that team. Never again.
I don't think that's the reason they won't win another cup, but
it sure as hell doesn't help.
All right.
Tony Cheese saying maybe they let Marchand dig his own grave by not intervening.
Certainly that stick to the head after it was all over was the coup d'etat.
He didn't make contact, but it's just the intent. It's the intent. The guy looks like a freaking maniac. I'm like,
he hit him in the mask with
he barely tapped him in the mask. It wasn't a huge hit, but I'm saying it's like the way he was going about doing this is, I think, the intent, and he looked just like a wild man out there. That was the thing. You're like, what the hell are you doing?
Well, see how the NHL disciplinary committee announced it today. He was like, well, there were 2 infractions. There was the roughing penalty and then the high sticking penalty. And they said as a repeat offender, we're giving him 6 games. Any suspension he ever gets now, nothing less than 6 games.
I agree with that. Yep.
He's a 7-time offender. This is the 7th time he's been suspended or disciplined. 7.
Ross Johnson got a 3-game suspension for hitting a guy in the shoulder. That was called a minor penalty on the ice. 3-game suspension. First offense, 3 games.
That's because
goalies hitting people in the face with sticks, 6 games.
That's because they don't want Ross Johnston's in the league anymore. And that's how come Marchand's able to get away with what he does. It's the wussification of the league. The goons, quote unquote goons, would take care of all that shit on the ice. They just took care of it. You didn't need referees. Those guys wouldn't even think about doing because they get beat up bad.
What a film saying, as a goalie, the players always had my back no matter what. They should have pounded that punk.
I would have had no problem if he took a beating. None.
Alexander's saying Brad Marchand's a punk, and he always will be, for certain he did. And he also tried to lick Leo Komarov. Yeah, he did it. Was it not once, but twice? He's licked multiple players.
That's how you get a nickname like Lollipop. Must have tasted good.
Oh, man. And then Alexander says, TJ, Grump, cross your fingers that Zach Thomas gets in the Hall of Fame tonight. I know people were saying Torrey Holt. I forgot that happened tonight. They'll come out with who's going to be in.
It's not going to be Zach Thomas.
Why do you think that?
He's not. I don't think he's a Hall of Fame player. He was a really good player. I mean, for Montreal, for Miami, as an undersized middle linebacker. But I don't think he's a Hall of Fame player. I just don't.
Man, I was about to say, I'm trying to see when it's going to be released, when they're gonna release everybody coming out there in Hall of Fame. I'm trying to get the exact time, but I'll be on the lookout, Grumpy, if that breaks during the live stream. And then what a film saying that might be a good point, Tony. They'll get him the next time they play him. He's too big a loser to play in the NHL. What an embarrassment he continues to be.
True.
Talk about Brad Marchand. Yeah, do you consider Rask a Hall of Famer? Grumpy said, yeah, we talked about that earlier too. And I'm getting the comments later. I apologize. Jeremy F. saying here, there's a story in Mark Messier's memoir about his dad, Doug, playing in senior A level hockey, and two guys in the other team to jump and beat him up. Doug was a tough guy, and he led the league in penalty minutes.
Yeah. Hey, the good old days. They ain't coming back anytime soon, unfortunately.
The good old days.
Unless you watch ECHL hockey.
Well, because they just pummel everybody. I mean, what is there? There has to be a bare minimum of one fight a game in an ECHL game.
I have a film which I'm going to send you.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You told me you're gonna. Yeah, that's right. There's like a huge brawl that breaks out. What a films. And again, I don't think it's very rare for huge brawls to break out in an ECHL game. I mean, it wouldn't shock me at all if you have multiple players on each team with over 100 penalty minutes.
Little goalie fight in there too. You know, you had everything.
What a film saying Rask is a very good, solid goaltender, but not an elite goalie.
In the playoffs is where he would give up some weak goals in big situations, and I think that hurts.
A career save percentage of a .925 in the playoffs.
I'm not saying he wasn't good. He never won a cup.
He did win one cup. He was on one Stanley Cup winning team.
Okay. You know what? The trainer won a cup that year too.
Yeah. They won a cup though.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying. He was not the starting goaltender.
He didn't play.
I get it.
Tim Thomas started all those.
It's like saying Jimmy Garoppolo won Super Bowls, but in reality, he was the backup. I get it. I get it. Right. Jeremy F. saying here, the players get kicked out of the game. Doug waits in the dressing room and stays dressed. The first guy in the room, Doug cold cocks him right in the beak, and says, if you're not going to fight with me out there, let's fight in here. That's the olden days. He fought with his teammates. Damn.
It was great.
Wow.
There were men's sports back there. You watch football from back then too? Holy crap. Everything now is a penalty, where back then, hey, no, he's able to get up. He's fine. Walk it off.
This about gave me an instant migraine. Alexander saying here, the announcers last night said that Barry looks like a genius with the lineup changes and said it worked well. Oh my God, that's gonna give me a migraine and a headache. Yeah, let's just roll Cal Clutterbuck out in the first line every night. That's a genius move.
Look at the fake news we have to fight every day to tell people the truth about the New York Islanders.
One freaking game, and now all of a sudden, hey, let's just continue to roll out Cal Clutterbuck on the first line, Ross Johnson second liner. What a film saying here. Well, now we get to see if Josh Hosang has game here in the Olympics. Got to think he's going to be playing for an NHL spot. I think this is a great chance for him to showcase himself. I really do believe that. Played well in the A. If he can really come away and look spectacular on a national stage like this, I think that gives him a chance for next year really getting a spot.
I don't know about that, but this is definitely a time for him to shine without a doubt.
You don't think if he plays really well here and played well in the AHL, he won't get a shot in the NHL roster spot next year?
He might, but he's going to have to beat out some talented players in Toronto to get that spot.
No, it's signed a 1-year, 2-way contract, man. You could go ahead and leave in this offseason. You don't think if he plays well, he's played well in the A and he plays well in the Olympics, that a team like Arizona won't gamble and roll the dice on him?
I would say, yeah, any offensively challenged team, except for the Islanders, of course, who we don't believe in scoring, would consider rolling the dice on him.
Well, I mean, Arizona is going to be playing in front of a packed house of 5,000 fans for the next 3 years. So we'll talk about that too. That's been made official. Alexander said, TJ, those numbers went over my head. I'm not even sure what numbers. Mike Piazza never used, neither did Pedro Martinez.
I'm going to bet you Mike Piazza
sure Mike Piazza did. You look at him, I'm sure he did. I'm a Mike Piazza fan. He was the first player I ever liked as a kid, Mike Piazza, but I'm sure he used. Yeah. Frank Thomas, we know used. I mean, he has the commercials where he advertises.
David Ortiz, who was just elected into the Hall of Fame, tested positive for steroids, and he got in. Why? Because he's chums with the guys in the media. So they just ignored it. That was never the case with Clemens or Bonds. They were both.
Unfortunately, that does it, right? If you have a media role afterwards and you chum it up and you're a friendly guy, that gets you extra votes by the people, because it allows them to see you as a person. If you go off into the sunset after playing and you never go out in the media and the social sphere, well, you're just known as the baseball player. Instead, David Ortiz is known as the guy and the baseball player, which makes more people vote for him.
Or if you're churlish towards the writers, they don't forget that.
Yes.
You know, here's the thing. They're supposedly the bastions of the game, right? The protectors of the game. But they have biases just like everybody else.
Just like you and I, yeah. They sit on their ass and talk about and opine about sports.
All they should be looking at is how the player produced on the field. And you look at it, right? What was the difference? So what's like the friendship? What is it worth? It looks like 12%, right? Because that's what Bonds and Clemens came up short from Ortiz.
Well, yeah. And getting through comments here quick. Drew L says here, apparently Instagram told me I'm going to be famous next year. We all hope. What a film saying, TJ, were you around the roids in your football career? No, but players did do that stuff. Players would get thrown off the team because in the NCAA, if you failed an in-house test, you were suspended for a month. If you failed an NCAA drug test, you're suspended for a year. But here's the thing. The night before, and I guarantee you with the big time programs, well in advance when somebody's coming to drug test you. But at our program, it was like you knew kind of the night before. You maybe kind of knew a little bit ahead of time, but weren't sure. And they always would be like, oh, be careful. And that was kind of like your hint of, hey, make sure you're not doing anything. But we had multiple players fail drug tests and thrown off the team. And you would be able to tell they were always looked like they're different individuals. They looked huge and they're usually skinny frame. It's like, oh, this guy was a 210-pound tight end and he's moving positions at D end. And now he's bulked up to 255 pounds of all muscle. You're like, that's not adding up. So, you were able to tell guys were doing something, and you're like, if this guy gets tested, he's going to pop positive. And the few that did, they did pop positive. But yeah, even at smaller levels, players would do it. They all do it at the higher levels too. Most do it. I won't say all. Tony Chi saying, I don't want to get controversial, but do you not see a little irony in the fact that the leagues will tell athletes that they cannot use steroids, but they have to take a vaccine? That's a good point. Never thought of it like that.
Yeah. Well, that's the whole thing, right? That's the hypocrisy of the whole thing.
Yep. What a film saying, good point, Tony. Alexander saying, Francisco Lindor is skinny.
Yeah, he's on the thin side.
Jeremy F said, no way, Grump. I'm saying the father is not involved. If some 16-year-old is doing steroids, I'd say that's peer pressure and no father to steer them right. I was about to say that I assume that it's no parental figure in the house, no father figure in the house. That usually the guys say, I'm going to do my own. I'm going to be Billy Badass.
There are some dads at 16. There are some dads who see themselves, they want to live vicariously through their sons. So they push them and let them do things to advance their athletic career. I've seen that. So I'm not saying it's always the case, but if you have a kid bragging on a TV that he's taking steroids, there's something seriously wrong there.
Yeah, I do agree with that. No kid should be doing that. Your body produces enough natural testosterone when you're that young. Just put the work in. What a film saying, I could finally go to the movies and restaurants without a vaccine. Thanks to the trucker protest in Canada, these mandates should have come to an end everywhere. The athletes must be going crazy with this. Pete Rose should be in a Hall of Fame, no doubt about it. Are the steroid users in the Hall of Fame?
David Ortiz.
One.
He's the only one who tested positive. But for certain, okay. If you ask me, yes, Piazza was using. Yes.
Yeah. And Double saying, "What's up? What's up, Double? How are you?" Warzone saying, "Put Barzal, Bellows, and Wallstrom together." Absolutely. Alexander saying, "No, Grumpy. I make her wear that Dolphins gear."
Oh my God, it's terrible. Why would you do that?
Could see Lou offering Cal Clutterbuck an 8-year, $5 million deal. Yari should have nailed him. Yeah. John M saying, "Good evening, gentlemen. I'm sick about how the boosters and boards are trying to fire Coach Harsin. War Eagle, Grump. I've got an Auburn shirt for you." Yeah, I was about to say Harsin. Today at the SEC, what was it? SEC press day. He left, and they had people posted around every single door trying to get some questions out of Brian Harsin. And Grumpy, you'll be interested in that. There's been a lot coming out that apparently he was going to be fired from Arkansas State before he signed a contract there with Boise State, and like everything is being dug up on him. But you'll be interested to hear this. Auburn is making a new adjustment there to their staff. They're saying amid investigation into football coach Brian Harsin, Auburn has implemented a new policy stating that employees can be fired for not cooperating with investigation or review. What in the absolute F is that about?
It's like McCarthyism. I swear. I'm sorry. If you want to try to bury me, I'm not going to take part in it.
I am not a fan of some guy having an affair on your wife. But here's the thing, right? If he was there doing this when she was still a student, that would be an issue. But what is she now? She's like 26, 27 years old. I can't even remember how old the lady is now. So I'm just like, I don't know. I'm like, it's odd. The entire thing is odd. It's like that just seems to be one thing. That seems to be one thing in college football. When you have an affair, think about what happened to Bobby Petrino. When you have an affair and get caught doing it. And Bobby Petrino was very successful at the University of Arkansas, very successful. And I mean, since Pittman, their new coach, they have not seen success anywhere close to what Petrino had. And they sacrificed. They said, well, you had the affair. We caught you with it. We're going to go ahead and take 10 years of below and subpar football because you had an affair.
How many of these boosters / administrators have affairs? I'm going to bet more than you think. I just don't believe in somebody being the morality police, and it's going to cost somebody his job because that's just the way the wind's blowing right now. For me, it's just frustrating.
Okay, I'm trying to pull up how old she is, right? I get it. If she's like a student, yeah, you should be fired. I mean, think about, and they talk about Ed Ogeron. Certain teams are willing to deal with more than others. Ed Ogeron was given a huge long leash after winning.
Because he's winning.
After winning, I was about to say, yep, exactly. Because he's winning is right.
I mean, when Petrino was there, I thought it was after he left. I thought he was at Louisville when he got fired, not Arkansas.
Maybe it was Louisville. The same thing happened. I think a coach, maybe it was Louisville. I got to look that up.
If this was Nick Saban, if it's Nick Saban, I guarantee it just gets swept under the rug.
If it's Nick Saban, they're saying, oh, well, hey, you're right. It's getting swept.
It's just ridiculous because, again, all they care about is how much money you're bringing into the university.
He was at Arkansas.
They're just hypocritical and they're liars.
He was at Arkansas in the time, and the next job he got was with Louisville.
Okay, so it was Louisville.
No, he was with Arkansas when this happened. He was fired from the Arkansas job. He was all out of coaching for a while, then took a job at Louisville.
Okay.
Do you not remember that? I always remember this picture, and it's like one of the most it's funny. You don't have to tell me who it is, grumpy old man, when I pull this up on screen, but I could tell you exactly just based off of looking at this guy's face. You always know, oh yeah, that's Bobby Petrino. I don't know I never know what Bobby Petrino looks like with an unscathed face, but when you pop up that picture with the neck brace on and the hat and the face all skinned up because he was in a motorcycle accident, I immediately know that's Bobby Petrino.
So is that the girl who he was with?
This young lady right here. She was an ex-volleyball player of the team, and he like hired her as part of the staff and then started having an affair with her. But who knows when the affair happened. So I think that's where it gets into, the dicey portions. Like, are you having an affair with a college student? That's no.
Well, okay, as long as she's of age, why should that even matter?
I don't know.
I'm just saying. I mean, here's the thing. Now, okay, I'm not making judgments because who am I to judge? I'm not. But do you think she loved Bobby Petrino?
Probably
Was
not.
you think it was love? I don't think it was lust. Or do you think she thought maybe she could get something from Bobby Petrino? I don't know.
Or maybe because he's big man on campus. Same
Yeah.
thing as like, why do you date a guy who might be 350 pounds, ugly as ugly as no other? I don't know. There's a whole bunch there, Grumpy, with that.
I do have the Hall of Fame class of 2022 if you're interested.
Well, I'll pull that up, Grumpy. But I'll be able to pull that up, and I'll get a little image there on it. But I think she's in her mid-20s. This girl that he was having an affair with is what I read, about a mid-20s.
Okay. Well, it is what it is. I mean, like I said, I'm not condoning what he did, but
Neither am
you
I.
shouldn't
And
lose your
it's not
job
like
over it.
Carson's in his mid-40s. It's kind of gross and icky, but I don't know. I mean, like, here's the thing. I can't remember what the payoff is. I think like if they fire him, the payout's like something close to 20 some odd plus million.
Well, then just think about
That's
it.
what I say. Like, I'm just talking about from the impact it's going to have financially on the program. Yikes.
No, it's not going to be anything. They make so much. They make money hand over fist.
Hey, they had the payout from the prior coach, Gus Malzone, and now they're going to add another 20 plus million, and then another coach they've got to bring on. That adds up.
That's okay. Why are they hiring these coaches? Because they want their football program to be successful. Well, you know what? You're not going to have Father Cabrini come down and coach your football team and have it be a success. They're success because they take whatever they do whatever they have to. They live hard. They take advantage of situations. What makes them good coaches? They are risk takers, right? They're willing to sign players that other people won't. NIL. I mean, please. That's nothing. $20 million is nothing in the year of NIL. It just isn't.
Wow. Okay, I'll pull up here wow. I'm kind of a little wow. This Hall of Fame class is something else, that's for certain. Ladies and gentlemen, yep, I'm pulling up here the Hall of Fame class for 2022. Grumpy old man, I'll let you read them here.
Yeah, if you can make it. Oh, don't highlight it, please. There we go. Tony Baselli. Tony Baselli, tackle, played for Jacksonville Jaguars, their first pick ever, I believe. Certainly worthy. Wide receiver Cliff Branch for the Oakland Raiders. Fantastic. Played majority of his time with Ken Stabler.
Kenny the Snake Stabler. Yeah.
I don't know about Leroy Butler. I don't know if he's Hall of Fame worthy. He was good, but I don't think he was ever like a Pro Bowl or anything like that. Interesting choice. Art McNally, he was an official. I've certainly heard the name.
Officials get
Sam Mills, undersized linebacker, was part of the New Orleans Saints 3-4 defense back in the 1980s, and then went to the Carolina Panthers and helped them get to the NFC Championship game. A real leader type. Died at a very young age. Matter of fact, he has a statue outside of I don't even know what they call it, Bank of America Stadium, I think they call it now. But a Class A individual, Hall of Famer. I mean, really, really good. You're letting guys like that in. There's other guys who deserve to get in.
Okay. So you can get a breath here, Grumpy. Take a breath, man. You're starting to run out of breath. I want to talk one thing about Sam Mills. I think it has more to do with the impact he had off the field. And you think about the campaign that had Keep Pounding in Carolina as well, and the attention he brought to cancer too on that side. I think it has more to do with that. Do his stats scream Hall of Fame? No, they certainly do not.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So should he get, you shouldn't go in the Hall of Fame because and it's going to sound bad, of course, he had cancer, and that's what started the Keep Pounding thing, because he was a coach at the time. And like I said, a Class A individual all the way. I'm just saying if he's getting in, there's a lot of other guys who deserve to be in as well. That's all I'm saying.
He didn't have his NFL debut until he was 27 years old with the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah, because he was undersized. He was small.
Yeah, 5'9".
Yeah, and he played inside linebacker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Then
absolutely.
you had defensive end D tackle Richard Seymour, absolutely deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. Also played for New England. Coach Dick Vermeil coached the Eagles to the Super Bowl. They lost to the Raiders in 1980, and then he abruptly retired, said he was burnt out, then came back and led the Rams to a Super Bowl win in the year 2000 with the greatest show on turf offense. And then the last player is Bryant Young, who was defensive end, defensive tackle from San Francisco 49ers. Outstanding. I don't think enough of those guys get recognized, just the blood and guts type players on the D line and the O line. Good for them.
Yeah. Richard Seymour had a few years as an all-pro caliber player. I mean, back in his prime, he was good, but
More than a
the
few.
numbers.
More than a few.
Three
Yeah.
years as an all-pro.
He was really good.
I'm just saying, when you look at the stats, they don't scream Hall of Fame, but that's fine. I mean, he was a really good player. I think he was a player that was better than what his stats told the story of.
He was a 3-4 defensive end.
Okay, he had 57 career sacks, 57.5 career sacks, dude.
He's a 3-4 defensive end, so he's two-gapping. He was two-gapping all the time. How many sacks does a two-gapper get?
Okay, how many sacks is Aaron Donald? Like when I think Hall of Fame,
Aaron Donald's not a two-gap player.
Okay, Aaron Donald plays D tackle.
Gets moved on. He's part of a 4-man defensive line, and he gets moved around line. Two-gapping.
Okay, take a breath. There's two D tackles.
I'm going to explain to you because you don't know.
There's two D tackles, and they have two outside linebackers on that defensive line for the Rams. Okay, watch this Sunday.
Okay,
please.
Okay, Aaron Donald doesn't two-gap. He's not big enough to two-gap. Okay, these guys had to occupy two blockers. Why? Because it freed up the linebackers to make tackles. That's why him having 56 sacks is incredible, because that wasn't his job.
In 12 years, 56 sacks is incredible.
It's to occupy blockers was his job. The same thing with
Four sacks a year, about on average, was incredible for you. I'm sorry, that doesn't foot the bill for me.
It's not about pass rush. See, you're a typical millennial, right? Everything's about pass rush.
Think about it. If you only have 4 sacks a year, how many third long situations are you out there for when you say pin your ears back and go get a sack? 4 sacks a year?
They can't run on you. They couldn't run on him. He was phenomenal. It's really deserved for him and Bryant, both of them. You're playing 3-4, so you're taking on a guard and a tackle every single play. You have to maintain and two-gap so guys can't run. So it freed up other guys to make tackles. That's what it is. Your rush end, your Andre Tippett was a guy who would rush in from the end. Not Seymour.
I'm not saying he's not a good player. Hall of Fame? I don't know.
Absolutely Hall of Famer. Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Fair enough. You and I disagree on that. When I think of absolute Hall of Famers as a defensive lineman, I'm thinking about guys who produce, guys who put up numbers, guys who are fantastic. Right. 3 years as an all-pro. He played on
no nose tackle should ever make the Hall of Fame ever.
Not true. He played on a fantastic New England Patriots defense. Fantastic back in the day.
He was the best lineman on that team by far.
It helps when you've got fantastic linebackers like your Teddy Bruschi's. It helps when you've got fantastic safeties and fantastic corners like your Ashanti Samuels or Ty Laws. That really helps as a defensive lineman when you've got fan-freaking-tastic secondary linebacking core.
His job was to occupy blockers. That was his job, to stop the run. That was his job. It wasn't to have a guy who runs around an end. That's not his job.
I'm not saying it was. I'm just
saying
Aaron
Donald never could have played that system. Not big enough or strong enough. Period.
Not strong enough. Gotcha. Well,
not strong enough.
On that joke, we'll continue.
Absolutely not.
On that
Absolutely
joke, watch
and
this.
I'm not trying to put Aaron Donald down. He's a different player. They play different positions.
On that joke, we'll continue. Alexander saying, I remember Steve Webb or Mick Vukota or Rich Pilon would go after the opponent if they went after our best player.
Yep, that's the way it was in the olden days.
Alexander saying, TJ, show the picture of Brian Urlacher's stats compared there to Sean Taylor.
Okay, Urlacher was a better player than Thomas. He was.
Well, here
I don't care. I mean, Urlacher was a difference maker. He just was. I mean, I'm not putting down Thomas, but he was undersized. I mean, Urlacher was a beast. He really was.
I mean, Zach Thomas should find his way into the Hall of Fame. You think about it, right?
He played on some crappy Miami teams.
Sam Mills makes
everything was funneled to him. I mean, I'm not belittling. I thought Zach Thomas was really good. I just don't know if he's a Hall of Famer. But then you look at Sam Mills getting it. It's like, see, that's what I mean. When you let somebody like that in, then you're like, well, maybe he should be in too.
It has more to do with Sam Mills, Grumpy. Breathe, my man. Breathe. You've been running for a bit. Breathe, my fella. It has more to, as I say again, it is unfortunate because I think his story is a fantastic story, but the stats I don't think it justifies him in there.
Okay,
and you look at a guy.
You never saw him play, so you can't even comment.
Jesus
you never saw him play.
Oh
People forget how fantastic that defensive, that linebacker group was for New Orleans. Just fantastic. And then when he came to the Panthers, same thing. He was really good.
He was a guy that helped it propped up. He played with fantastic defenses. Fantastic defense.
But he was part of them. That's what it's all about. It's not an individual sport.
I'm not saying it is. I'm saying a guy who never, again, I don't get the Sam Mills in the Hall of Fame. It has more to do with his story and the impact he had regarding cancer than anything else. Really, you think Sam Mills is deserving of the Hall of Fame?
What I'm saying is maybe that helped him get elected, but it's not because of that.
I think it has more to do with that than his play.
Sam Mills was a really fantastic person too, and I think that helps.
Okay,
but he was really good.
We just got done saying it's not the Hall of Great Personalities, the Hall of Great People. I'm not saying he's not a great person. It's the Hall of Fame for the NFL. What did you do on the field?
He was really good. He was really good.
One-time All-Pro. I don't know. Never won it. Never won. You talk about winning accolades. Never did that. One-time All-Pro. I'm not trying to belittle what he did on the field. I'm just saying Hall of Fame. He's not there for me.
Okay.
Not there.
Like I said, you've never seen him play. So it's hard. Here's the thing. You've never seen 3/4 of the players play.
Oh, shit.
All right. You haven't. You really have recency bias. That's what you have. You've never even seen Zach Thomas play.
When I hear you singing from the rooftops on how Richard Seymour is very deserving of the Whole of Fame.
You never saw him play either.
I did see him play. Dude, he played in 2012. What are you talking about?
You never saw him play. Who was he playing for, the Raiders then?
No, Grumpy. I saw him play early on. I mean, I used to see him with the Teddy Bruschi's out there in the world, and the Mike Vrabels back there for the freaking Patriots defense. I saw that, Grumpy, with the Ty Laws.
Okay, come on. You were a kid then. You never broke down what he did. You don't know. Here's the thing. It's like 20, 30 years from now, somebody will tell you that Aaron Donald sucked, and you'll be saying the same thing I do about how good Aaron Donald was.
Okay.
And you know what your responsibility? You never saw Aaron Donald play.
Aaron Donald's stats back it up, dude. Look at Aaron Donald's stats. Okay, Aaron Donald almost has twice as many sacks as Richard Seymour, as guys undersized.
Played two different positions.
They both play D tackle. No. They both play D tackle. And Richard Seymour
used a 3-man line is different than a 4-man line. A 4-man line is.
I am going to tell you this again. The Rams play 2 D tackles, 2 outside linebackers for the freaking 5th time. Watch it on Sunday.
They're freaking defensive ends. They're not outside linebackers. They're defensive ends.
Von Miller is an outside linebacker. He's not a D end.
He's a rush end. At this stage of his career, he's a rush end. And so is Floyd on the other side.
They're both outside linebackers. They both
all they do is rush. They rush. They're rushers. They play a 4-man front.
Okay. You look at Aaron Donald. He's won 4 different defensive players. What do you mean?
I'm not saying that Aaron Donald isn't good. I'm trying to draw a comparison how you're going to be in 20 years when somebody says, well, gosh, this guy's way better than Aaron Donald. And you're going to say this, and your answer is going to be, well, you never saw Aaron Donald play.
Aaron Donald won Defensive Player of the Year 3 times in a row. He's been a 7-time All-Pro. Again, you talk about the accolades. It's day and night difference.
Okay. They play 2 different positions. Sorry.
Yeah, they play the same position. They're both D tackles.
A 3-man front. The defensive line would play 3-man front.
It's like telling me that 2 corners play different positions when one corner plays zone coverage and one corner plays more of a man coverage scheme. They're both freaking corners. They both play the same position, Grump.
Scheme matters. And they don't play the same position.
They do play the same position.
No. Aaron Donald has never two-gapped in his life. Never. They don't run a 3-man line. They run a 4-man line. It's a difference. It's a difference. 4-on-5 and 3-on-5. It's a difference. Your job as a 3-4 defensive lineman is to occupy blockers. That's your main job.
On 3rd and 15 is your job to occupy blockers or get to the quarterback. Thank you very much. Moving right along.
Tie up the blockers, which lets a blitzer come in and make the sack. That's the way it is.
On 3rd and 15.
On 3rd and 15. On 3rd and 15.
We've got to move along. Thank you very much, Grumpy. Thank you for the jokes tonight. What a film saying. Just wondering, has TJ, have you seen Slapshot? I know Grumpy has. I've seen Slapshot. I've seen it. I don't like Slapshot.
Anything of it.
Oh, man. Alexander saying, but noticed how Brendan didn't say anything. The commentator said it, and Brendan stayed quiet. We didn't listen to the game live. I didn't listen. I'll have to go back and watch and listen to that portion. John M saying here, by the way, I hated the new Islanders line change. It was a blind squirrel night in Vancouver.
100% agree.
Alexander saying, again, Zach Thomas robbed. Unbelievable. Yeah, Zach Thomas should find his way into the NFL Hall of Fame. I don't disagree with that.
We'll see.
5-time All-Pro player. I don't know.
Everything was funneled to him. Everything was funneled to him.
Okay. I get it.
That's the way Miami ran that system back then. Everything was funneled to the middle linebacker.
Most defenses run everything to the Mike linebacker. That's how most defenses are run. And that's how most of them were run back in the time period when he played.
I'm just going to say that, and I'm not dumping on Zach Thomas because he made a lot of tackles. And I knew he was going to be good out of Texas Tech. My brother's a Dolphins fan. And I said, watch out, that kid's a good pick. But Dolphins never won anything. And, everybody has a whole lot of tackles. You look at some guy have 200 tackles this year. Well, it's just the way the system is. It's schemed for him to make tackles. I mean, that's just the way schemes go. I'm just saying, if Sam Mills is in, maybe Zach Thomas deserves to be in also.
That's what I'm about to say. When we're letting Sam Mills in, I think a lot of we got to open the floodgates.
Didn't Jason Taylor get in the Hall of Fame? I think he did. And I'm like, I'm sorry. Jason Taylor to me was just a stat stuffer too.
He's in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. See, I never thought he was great. I thought he was good, but you know what? You could scheme to beat Jason Taylor. You could. But just because he has numbers, football's not a game of numbers. That's baseball. Baseball's a numbers game.
When you win a defensive player of the year, or when you lead the league in sacks, sometimes think about it. Jason Taylor was in the league for a long time, Grumpy. A long time.
I don't know, but I was never concerned.
You think Julius Peppers is a Hall of Famer?
I never thought, for me, when the Giants played him or the Patriots or whoever, I was never concerned about Jason Taylor. And there's so few guys I ever worry about. Lawrence Taylor is the guy you need to worry about. They had to scheme around him. But
there's not a million Lawrence Taylors out there.
You're right. He's one of the top 2-3 players in the history of the game.
He's a fantastic player. I'm not going to argue with you on that part. Where he's placed, maybe a little different. But do you think Julius Peppers deserves a Hall of Fame spot?
No,
I do.
No.
What?
No, absolutely not. I don't think there was anything special about Julius Peppers. He was okay. He had some years where he put up big numbers. Yeah, but again, how many games was he invisible in? And you got to remember, I used to work those games, so I know exactly what he did and didn't do.
Julius Peppers is 4th all time in the history of the NFL in sacks.
I don't care. It's not about sacks.
It's like saying Frank Gore doesn't deserve to be in the Hall of Fame when he retires, when he's done and is eligible.
Do you think Frank Gore is a Hall of Famer?
He's 2nd all time in rushing yards in the history of the sport. Yes, he does.
Did he ever lead the league in rushing?
Grumpy, let me pull up Frank Gore. You're going to argue with me on Frank Gore?
Just because he played forever. That's why he has those numbers.
Dude, longevity and success over the long portion of a career, it deserves to be recognized.
Yeah, I thought Frank Gore was a good back. Never thought he was a Hall of Famer.
He never led in yards. He never led in touchdowns, rushing. He never led in anything.
Yeah, exactly.
But you know what? He had 16,000 career rushing yards. Why are you exasperated?
Because, like I said, If was he ever the best running back ever? The answer is in his times. Never. He
Over
never
his
was.
career, he's one of the best backs that's ever played.
Okay. Was he ever any single year you say, man, that Frank Gore, he's the best running back of the league?
No.
Then I'm sorry. You don't deserve to get in the Hall of Fame.
If you see guys, let's say Frank Gore's here and he continues to perform at this level and he stayed really flat and he was always performing at a very, very high level, is that better than having a guy like Edgerrin James who pops up for 3 years and disappears off the face of the earth, or a guy like Todd Gurley who pops up for 3 or 4 years, does this, and then plummets? I mean, Frank Gore is here at a very, very high level through the majority of his career.
Just because here's the thing, but the attrition rate for running backs is so high. That's why, Edgerrin James, who I believe is in the Hall of Fame, was an infinitely better back than Frank Gore. There was no comparison between the two of them. None. Again, you never saw Edgerrin James play.
The Edge was a hell of a back. All I'm saying is he had 3 or 4 really good years.
I don't know why you waste my time with you, because you don't know anything. You know nothing about football in the 90s and the early 2000s. Nothing. You were still in diapers then, I bet.
Oh my God, Grumpy. Edgerrin James is a good back. I'm not taking that away from him. All I'm saying is
he's a Hall of Fame back. He was phenomenal.
I know he was great. He was great on that Colts team. He was great with Peyton Manning. He
was never Edgerrin James. Never, ever. Gale Sayers, 5 years playing pro football, Hall of Famer, before injuries got him. He was outstanding. That's how you get in the Hall of Fame. He was phenomenal. Everything he touched, he was just electric.
I cannot believe Julius Peppers not on your list of Hall of Fame caliber players, and Frank Gore, second all time in rushing yards, not going to be a Hall of Fame player.
Was Julius Peppers ever the best player at his position? No.
Yes. What?
No.
He's a 3-time pro too. What do you mean no?
No.
Man, the guy was ultimately consistent. He was a 3-time all-pro caliber player, man. Come on, give the guy his respect.
No.
Oh, Jesus. Well, maybe I will have to save that for another time of conversation. Jeremy F. saying, maybe they're raising Clutterbuck stock before trying to move him. I even, as soon as that came out, we were post-game with Tommy B still, and I said, it's only a matter of time before people start trying to find some sort of reasoning behind why Barry would do something so ludicrous like putting Clutterbuck on the first line. And I said, it's only a matter of time before people start thinking it's to raise his value. And I'm going to say this again. Every single right winger has been given an option to play with Matt Barzal besides Oliver Wahlstrom this season. And look at how many left wingers have been given a chance to play with Matt Barzal. Villiers played shift on the left wing. Kiefer Bellows has played shifts on the right wing with Matt Barzal. Zach Parise has played shifts on the right wing with Matt Barzal. The only guy who hasn't been paired up with him is Matt Martin. That's the only winger that has not been paired up. Well, besides Matt Martin and Oliver Wahlstrom are the only two wingers that have not been paired up with Matt Barzal for shifts on 5-on-5 play.
Astonishing. That's all I can say. Astonishing.
John M says here, 43 games in 80 nights. Good luck with the roster as it is constructed as of today.
Agreed.
Yep. What a film saying, of all these games, the Islanders didn't get bounces. They got all of them in the first period against Vancouver. Not the best Islanders game, but we got the 2 points for certain.
All it matters.
And Double here saying, if he would have done that to Billy Smith, Billy would have shoved the stick up his ass and turned him into a popsicle.
100% true. He never would have done that to Smith. Never would have done that. He would have broke his ankles with that stick, with that goalie stick.
What a film said, if steroids make you smarter than give you better memory, Grumpy's on them then.
Thank you, Woody.
Fired for having an affair. What the hell is going on in this world? Shit happens. Oh my God.
I just find it funny that the people who judging, I guarantee you at least some of them have had affairs. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm about to say. And I tell you, yikes. I mean, you look at that. And then Warzone saying there, any reason to get a coach fired? Alexander saying here, damn, you're a beautiful woman. What are you going to do with an ugly guy like that? Well,
yeah. Figure it out.
Or maybe women value different things. Maybe women value more a guy who's going to show her attention, and guys are more, like an attractive individual. Who knows? Maybe men and women have different values.
I am sure that's what happens when a guy is multimillionaire, big time college football coach. hot ex-volleyball player wants to hang with them, or
she wasn't a volleyball.
cheerleader.
You're talking about Bobby Petrino.
Yeah, I was bringing back the other one too, and a cheerleader, whatever.
Now that one again, like the Harson one. Oh, yeah. I'll be honest with you. That one kind of gives me. I'm just looking at the track record. He was the head coach at Boise State when she was a cheerleader. Then after she was done with the cheerleader, he brought her onto the staff at Boise State. And then when he moved to Auburn, he brought her on the staff at Auburn. I'm like, would I like to think that maybe, when she was younger, when she was a student, he had completely no interactions with her in an inappropriate manner. I would like to think, I'd hope that's the case. Do I think that's probable?
You know how many professors bang their students? Please. They're adults.
Yeah.
They are adults. Maybe he brought her on as a flexibility coach, though. She's a cheerleader. They got to do jumps and stuff. And
she was an administrator. Football something office administrator. Warzone Senior Citizen says, I nominate Anders Lee, manager of the Hall of Fame, $7 million a year for that bum with a legendary swindle.
He's got the best agent in the league. It helps he had Lou on the other side of the table, though.
What a film saying, my daughter's 22. I raised her, and I hope she, wouldn't hook up with a guy that's in his 40s, but she's a woman that makes her own decisions. This guy shouldn't lose his job.
True.
I'm still trying to get her to hook up with Matt Barzal. Kind of kidding, LOL.
Kinda.
Matt Barzal's a good-looking guy.
He is a good-looking kid.
A good-looking guy. I've said it before and I'll say it again. He's got a face that could be a poster boy of the NHL if his numbers supported it, because he's a heartthrob. My wife, he's hot. Oh, everybody loves Matt Barzal. I mean, Matt Martin's got the rugged look to him, but just doesn't produce. So
now your wife probably is envious that he has a full head of hair.
Oh, yeah. She looks at the head of hair and says, ooh, if only you had those long black locks. That's what she says all the time. John M. says here, not to get into Auburn drama too much, but it was proven that Harson did not have an affair. It was a smear campaign to fire him with cause and not to pay the buyout while he was on vacation. Oh, wow. I didn't know. I've just been seeing there's alleged affair just popping up all over the place without. And again, I figure it was all he said, she said, because I saw certain spots were saying, yes, he's had an affair, and certain spots that said, no, we didn't. But I'm not invested enough time into knowing whether he did or did not have it.
Well, if that's the case, Auburn's going to pay more than he's going to be paying more than $20 million.
Yes. If you could go ahead and prove that you were fired by incorrect without cause and not paid. Oh yeah, I'm sure. And especially when you defame him like that in the public sphere, yikes. What a film saying, you guys should cover NASCAR. My God, you're Americans. There's a lot of drama in that sport.
I tell you, I used to watch NASCAR when Jeff Gordon was racing. My kids loved Jeff Gordon, the Rainbow Warrior car that he had.
DuPont.
DuPont. And when he went out, we just haven't really followed it much. Matter of fact, my mom still likes it though, but I can't even remember, she liked Jimmy Johnson. He's retired. And, we just never, my kids aged out, they moved away. And so I only watched it for them. And then I just kind of stopped watching it. But I always watch the Daytona 500. That's always fun to watch. But then maybe, like a Memorial Day race they have in Charlotte, the Coca-Cola 600. But I don't watch it religiously. Do not.
John M. says the SEC brought in $77 million this year. Each school gets $54 million.
$777 million.
777. Just a small clerical error. Only $777 million, not $77 million.
Think about that.
Here's the thing, though. Do you know how much?
Almost $1 billion enterprise for football.
One conference. Not for football. One conference in one sport. Amongst how many teams are in the SEC? 14, 16? I can't remember. 16, right?
No, I want to say 12 or 14. 12 or 14 tops. Maybe it's only 12 right now.
14. 14.
Okay.
And it's going to be added. My brain was already adding in Oklahoma and Texas, but it's 14 teams at the moment. Wow. $1 billion enterprise on one sport amongst 14 teams, just about. Think about how, I'll tell you one thing, that money all goes into making sure we're upgrading items, staying competitive. And I'll tell you, they funnel that right back. Don't get me wrong. I'm sure some people pocket that money, and some members of the organization, some of the big wigs, find a way to creatively make sure they're getting a little more, lining their pockets more just when you have that type of money available to you. But a lot of that money gets put back into the team, I'm sure.
That's 777 is just what's on the books, not the under the table stuff either.
Alexander saying how Urlacher got in before Thomas is ridiculous. Those stats proved it. I don't know. I think Urlacher is one of those first ballot type of guys.
He was a difference maker. He really was.
And then what a film saying, true, John, if somebody wants to get rid of you at any job, they could just start digging for some BS. Something that happened 20 years ago, and cancer culture is so dangerous.
I often say, and for people who believe in that, I say, how would you like to be judged on what you do today by whatever the norms are going to be 30 or 40 years from now? Because I don't think it's fair to judge anyone by standards that were in place today for something that they did, 30, 40 years ago. I mean, I'm sorry, because that's just the way it was back then. You can't retroactively punish someone with new laws on the books. It's wrong.
Gotcha. I'll be moving along because we got comments and we still got items we're going to cover here. Alexander saying Ovi should have rapped at the NHL All-Star game. Did you see the rap video that Ovechkin did? That's resurfaced.
I did not. I did not.
It's an old video now. I'll give you that. It's an old one. Thanks, Alexander, for sending this one to me. You just tell by the images and look at Ovechkin. It's an older video. How old does Alexander Ovechkin look here? Maybe like 24, 25 years old?
He looks like Eminem with the hat on. He looked like young Eminem.
You could just
like that. Looks like Eminem.
I'm telling you, he's got to be younger in this video. My God, no beard, clean shaven. Oh my gosh, Alexander Ovechkin. Goodness gracious.
Good for you, Ovi.
That's the old video there. Sam Matt said Zach Thomas is one of those core guys dominating. If we had alongside Jason Taylor and Tim Bowen, Sam Madison and Patrick Surtain. Richard Seymour was a great player. Cooper Kupp, offensive player of the year. Alexander, yeah, that made him laugh. Jason Taylor got in the first year he's eligible. And wow, Grumpy, Frank Gore, not a Hall of Famer. The ultimate disrespect. Frank Gore had over 9 seasons with 1,000+ yards. And TJ, don't mention that because that Barry is going to put Matt Martin with Cal Clutterbuck on the first line too. Oh God,
there you go.
Yes, grumpy old man. But yeah, Richard Seymour was a great player. Hall of Fame, not sure. Aaron Rodgers named MVP of the league. Oh, wow.
His numbers weren't nowhere near as good as Brady's. He still got MVP. They had the same record. Whatever.
They're probably.
You know what you're never going to hear about Aaron Rodgers? Super Bowl champion. You ain't going to hear that.
Oh, no, he's been a Super Bowl champion before. What are you talking about?
Okay.
He's won a Super Bowl before.
Yeah, 10 or 11 years ago. Sorry.
Yeah, okay, he did win a Super Bowl. Come on. Alexander says, guys, by the Dolphins hiring McDaniel, they had to give up 2 third-round compensation picks. Yep, and that's the same thing the Jets had to do when they hired. No,
they don't have to give. The league gives them compensation picks. It's not from the teams.
It is from the teams, I thought.
No, it's not. It's just compensatory picks at the end of the round.
Okay, gotcha. Because I remember the same thing happened there.
Why would you ever hire a minority head coach
if you had to give?
It was going to cost you draft picks.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the league. Yep. But moving right along there, yeah, NASCAR was
Ricky Rudd. I remember Ricky Rudd.
Yeah, Ricky Rudd. I couldn't tell you who that is. I don't watch NASCAR.
NASCAR guy.
Now I wanted to show you this, Grumpy. It's been officially confirmed. Arizona will be playing at Arizona State University for the next at least 3 seasons. And this was Gary Bettman's response. Hockey is thriving in Tempe, and we're delighted that the Coyotes' passionate fans will get to experience ASU's on-campus energy while the club's new arena is being built. Wow.
Aye.
Here's the thing. The only group this benefits, because trust me, the players are not going to be thrilled about playing at a college campus. They're going to be like, holy shit. We play. It's like if you're you're seeing all these palaces and all these fantastic arenas, these locker rooms that are fantastic, state of the art, and you're going and playing in the rinky dink, little crummy college, middle a college in the Midwest, or I'm sorry, on the West Coast, that does not have a great arena. You're going to be playing in you're going to be playing a less than par arena. It's like, not only do we play for a bad team, I'm playing in a crappy arena too every night where we play in front of 5,000 fans.
It seems like it's outdoors too.
Well, no, they're going to retrofit it to make it indoors. But
okay.
yeah, so they're going to have it more on the indoor side. But I think it could have some outdoor. It had like, at least the way I looked at it beforehand, like the glass had like where it could be outdoors, but I don't know. It's like, I think one of the multi-purposes areas, but it's going to be now geared towards the NHL.
If I lived near there, I would get season tickets.
I was about to say, this makes it great for the kids on Arizona State's campus. Holy crap, I have an NHL team on campus. Pfft, the tickets are going to be cheap as hell. But if I lived there, I would get season tickets, even if I wasn't a Coyotes fan, just because you'll never be able to experience anything like that ever again. Going to an NHL game, watching NHL teams in front of 5,000 people every single game. That's assuming it's sold out.
I'm going to guarantee it might not be sold out, but it'll be filled every night.
Oh, the college kids too. I mean, like, oh, come in and have beer. Come in and get free beers, or come in and get $3
They're not
beers.
Go free beers.
Oh, come in and get $3 beers.
Oh.
I could see him doing something like that.
Okay, they're not going to need to do that. It's only 5,000 seats.
I don't know, Grumpy. Have you ever seen that Arizona Coyotes fan base?
It's more than 5,000 people.
That being said, also some more hockey news. Dale Tippett is fired there. Dave Tippett. I'm sorry. I always mess him up. Dave Tippett fired from the Edmonton Oilers.
And Jim Playfair, the associate head coach.
Yeah, I mean, Tippett, he struggled. He got off to a hot start, and then kind of the team just floundered, and they want to keep McDavid happy, so they fired Tippett. He wasn't doing a good job there anyway.
Well, we'll see them up close and personal tomorrow night. Islanders against Oilers.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And what they'll do there going on. Different Mind says here, have you guys talked about Kyler Murray? Oh yeah. What's your thoughts on a possible trade on the social media stuff? Is it smoke and mirrors? Now he's talking about Kyler Murray unfollowed the Arizona Cardinals official page on Instagram and Twitter and all that stuff. So people are smelling possible bad blood in the water.
I don't understand. It's like that came out of nowhere. I'm confused by that, but he's under contract for 2 more years. On his rookie deal, and then the 5th-year option, and after that they can franchise him twice. He's not getting traded. There's no way they're trading him. I'd be interested to see what happened though. Why was he doing that? Doesn't make any sense to me. But like I said, time heals all wounds. I can't imagine what happened.
Think about how many times it looked like Russell Wilson was as good as gone out of Seattle, and he's still there. I'm not saying he's going to stay there forever. I think maybe the relationship's not great in Arizona, but he's not going anywhere anytime soon, I don't believe. Think about what it would he's a young franchise caliber quarterback who struggled, albeit towards the tail end of the last 2 years, but he's been fantastic in the regular season early on, even midway through. You could argue that the reason he struggled to the tail end this year is because DeAndre Hopkins was out for the majority of that time period. But then you could say, hey, maybe he's more dependent on his wideouts and he's not a fantastic QB, but just throwing scenarios out there, Grump. Want to show you this. Now, we didn't really talk too much about the Super Bowl. We're going to get a quick little recap of what we think is going to happen. But this could be Matthew Stafford could join only Eli Manning as the only quarterback to lead the NFL in interceptions during the regular season and win a Super Bowl.
Now, there's a guy who's probably going to get in the Hall of Fame and I'm sorry, he's not a Hall of Fame quarterback. That's Eli Manning.
Yep, Eli's going to get in because of the family, because of Peyton, because of the show he's got now.
Well, they beat the Patriots twice in the Super Bowl. That's why he's getting Hall of Fame. But you look at his touchdowns and interceptions; they're almost identical.
Yes, he does not deserve to be in Hall of Fame, but he will make it.
And you look at Matthew Stafford, right? I mean, he's put up big numbers in his career, but they never won anything. And I say that the Rams are almost winning in spite of him.
I say the Rams win in spite of Sean McVay.
You know what? I'm picking Cincinnati this week.
Really?
Yep.
You're picking Cincinnati over the Rams.
Yep. Yep.
God, that's what was popping up here next. Who do you have there? You've got Joe Burrow, or Matthew Stafford and the LA Rams.
Okay, here's the thing. The game's going to be close, right?
Really?
You don't think it's going to be close?
I think the Rams win by 13 or more.
Wow. Okay. No,
Yes.
It's going to be closer than that.
Yes. I'm going to tell you this too. Joe Burrow gets sacked 7 times. 7 times.
And somehow he still finds a way to win. He was sacked 9 times against Tennessee.
He's not winning. The Cincinnati Bengals are not winning. This Rams defense is going to eat the lunch of the Cincinnati Bengals. I don't know. I think there's no way in hell the Cincinnati Bengals win. And I think that Rams defense can have 7+ sacks, and they're going to have they're going to win by probably 13 or more. Can Sean McVay stay out of his own way? That is the biggest question. Always has been, always will be.
Can the overrated Rams defensive line get to Burrow?
Overrated? What makes you say that? Because they're overrated because they come up with sacks left and right? Is that what it is?
They got that ham and egg Aaron Donald. I remember when everyone thought Aaron Donald was going to wreak havoc on the Patriots when they played him 3 years ago, and they just shut his ass out. You can scheme to stop him.
What, by running in a different direction of him every
run
play?
Right at him. You run right at him.
Running right, really?
You run right at guys like that. Absolutely. Make them play the run. That's what you always do. He
plays the run well. What are you talking about?
He's okay. He's not great in run. He's good. It's his quickness. But like I said, they shut him out. The Patriots shut him down. You can scheme to stop him. Just like, J.J. Watt was the greatest thing ever, right? You can scheme to stop him too. You can scheme to stop a good defensive player. The only guy you could never scheme against in my lifetime was Lawrence Taylor. He was unschemable. You could not stop him.
All I'm going to say is this. You're talking about how they shut him down in the playoffs or in New England. That game was 13-3. Okay. Yeah. He had 1 QB hit and 5 tackles.
Yeah,
no sacks.
They ran at him all day. They won
13-3. Yeah, they really put up a
and then at the end, he was worn out, and Brady just bip, bap, boop, right down the field for the winning touchdown. They knew what they were doing. You can scheme around a defensive player. But that said, the reason why I'm picking Cincinnati is they were down 18 points to Kansas City, and they came back and won. They were trailing to Oakland. They came back and won. They were down against Tennessee, 9 sacks, came back and won. I'm picking them because they have the better quarterback. That's
Aaron Donald might have 2+ sacks. Bold prediction time. Aaron Donald might have 2 sacks. Von Miller might have 2 sacks. I'm saying sacks are going to be handed out like freaking candy. It's going to be like a child at Halloween going from house to house, just collecting free sacks. 13-point victory by the Rams. 7.
You know what's going to happen?
Defense.
You know what's at the end of the night? They collecting all that candy. They're going to leave it on the front step, and Joe Burrow is going to steal it and take it to his house.
Sean McVay is actually going to drop off. He's going to accidentally misplace, or Sean McVay is going to accidentally poke a hole in the bottom of the bag, and the candy is going to spill all over the streets. And Joe Burrow might just pick up the candy one by one. I don't know. I really feel like if the Rams lose, Sean McVay, one of the biggest chokers in the game.
I'm not saying that. You realize he's only 36, Sean McVay?
I know.
Here's the thing. It wouldn't, if the Rams win, it wouldn't surprise me, but the way they're talking, it's like they consider this game over already. And I find that teams that go in so overconfident like that tend to lose. Cincinnati's playing with house money. They have been the whole postseason, and they just find ways to win. And their quarterback is better than the Rams quarterback, period.
Fair enough, grumpy old man.
We'll find out Sunday night.
We're going to find out. Drew L says, I think Kyler Murray can succeed with Cliff Kingsbury and a good second wide. They've got good wideouts. I mean, Christian Kirk's a good wideout. He's a good number 2. AJ Green was their number 3 wideout threat in Arizona. They had a lot of threats. I mean, when DeAndre Hopkins went out, that hurt the team, but they had threats even when Hopkins went out. So
here's the thing. I think that Murray tends to wear down at the end of the season. He's a small guy. Tends to wear down at the end of the year.
Because I think Rondell Moore, under the right circumstances, can be Michelle Hardman. Oh no, Michelle. I don't know.
He's really small. He's 5'7". he's more, to me, he's a gadget player or a quick slot guy. That's what he should be. Who knows?
Drew L saying the Simpsons also picked the Bengals to win.
There you go.
34-31. They beat them. They picked them to beat the St. Louis Rams at the time period, or maybe it was the I can't remember who it was. I think it was St. Louis Rams or Los Angeles Chargers. I can't remember, but they picked them to win 34-31. What a film saying. I used to watch the London Knights in a $2,500 barn back in the day with Rob Rampage.
Ramage. There's no
Brad
P in
March,
there.
Go ahead, Grumpy. Read them all.
Brad March, Dino Cicerelli, Daryl Sittler. Always a packed house and amazing hacky. Man, the good old days. You're right.
Rams will win for certain. I think they will. This is the best defense that Joe Burrow has faced. I also agree. Are you guys live streaming the Super Bowl? Maybe. I don't know. It starts at 6:30 Eastern Standard Time. It's going to be a long one. We might just go live after the game, Grump.
At 11, 10 o'clock, 10:30?
Oh, you think so? You think it's going to be wow? So you think the game is going to be 4 hours and 30 minutes plus? Well, we might just do it on Thursday.
It's going to be at least 4 hours long.
We think just do it on Thursday. Just do it on Thursday podcast and just not do one this Sunday.
I don't know. We'll talk about
we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it off air, guys, and we'll let you know. Halftime show might be a bust. I never watched halftime. Halftimes are awful. Jewel says, I meant without Cliff Kingsbury, but they need a number 2 wideout. Yeah. I mean, Christian Kirk still, I think he's doable.
Yeah.
Grump, we're here at the end of the podcast. Now you've got the Bengals winning it all. But Grumpy, what do you want to say before we wrap things up today?
I just want to say love and laughter to everyone who listens, and even those who don't, from TJ and the Grumpy Old Man.
And thank you everybody for tuning in. If we do come live, I don't think we'll do a post game. We'll come live during the game. It's up in the air right now. But make sure you subscribe, turn on the notifications. That's how you'll find out if we're going live during the game. Grumpy and I got to talk after this. But if not, we'll see you guys bare minimum the latest next Thursday. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. We always love interacting with you guys, talking sports and shooting the shit. And thank you again, Grumpy Old Man.
My pleasure.